Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing 3 videos. The first, this one, will be the summer school tag. It was created by Dorris of All D Books, who is also hosting the summer school readathon, of which I'm participating, and I will leave a link down below. So let's get on to the prompts. Language arts. Number 1. Tell us about a book you were assigned to read in school. I could take the easy way out and go with Shakespeare, because pretty much we have all read Shakespeare at some point. I've read for assigned readings Julius Caesar as a sophomore, Hamlet as a senior. This is in high school, and I want to say King Lear or Macbeth in high school too. I know certainly Hamlet. And then in college I've read pretty much, and obviously in Romeo and Juliet in freshman year, and then a huge chunk of the plays in college. But I'm wanting to focus on high school, and Shakespeare's obviously a little too easy. So I'm going to go with The Yellow Raft in Blue Water by Michael Dorris. This book came out in the late 80s. It was assigned for my senior English class in high school, and it's about a young woman who has moved with her mother from her home on the East Coast, West Coast. I think it was a metropolitan area, to her mother's home on a Native American reservation. And the daughter it becomes like a split narrative, one of the mother's life on the reservation towards her leaving, I think, and then her daughter sort of acclimating herself to the reservation and becoming involved with the goings-on, and ultimately culminating in some event with the Yellow Raft on a lake. It has been not quite 20 years since I've read the book. I've only read it once for that class, so my memory's a bit foggy on it. I remember quite liking it at the time, even though it certainly was not YA. It was definitely an adult book. And of course, the author, Michael Dorris, there was quite a chunk of controversy over him, because he was married to Louise Edric, and he was accused before his suicide of abusing their daughters. So there was some controversy, although maybe not a whole lot. I think it was mentioned and discussed, but I don't remember the class really diving too deep into the personal life of Dorris. So anyway, so I will go with The Yellow Raft in Blue Water. Possibly a book I might want to actually revisit at some point, now that I think about it. So I guess I could keep old Shakespeare here. Prompt number 2, math. When will I ever use this again? Depends exactly what you do for a living after you leave school. Share a book in which the characters need math skills. In my library, there is but one book that this prompt refers to. Ninefox Gambit by Yoon, and of course the entirety of the Hexarchate series. Basically, this is a world where high-end exotic mathematics can achieve remarkable feats of science and of FTL, exotic weaponry. And the main character, Karis, is a prodigy at mathematics, even though she's not a part of the class or cast that really focuses on math. She's in the military, and she's assigned to basically host a ghost in order to stop a rebellion in Hexarcate space. And the book is phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Even though, I mean, I've been told before I read it that the science, the math is incredibly difficult, incredibly dense, and baroque, but I didn't feel that at all. I thought this was just an amazingly fun read. And definitely shows you, yeah, math can save the universe. Number 3, science. What was the last science-related book you read? That would be Astrophysics for People in a Hurry by DeGrasse Tyson, which I read last week for the summer school readathon. It's really good, very concise, brilliant. Definitely Neil deGrasse Tyson is a wonderful science educator and popularizer. Number 4, social studies. Share a book from your TBR that is translated or deals with the government. I'm going to have to go with the translated works. And I'm not entirely sure where on my TBR these two books are. I'll get to them eventually. Exactly when, I'm not entirely sure, but they're both translated. The first book is And Their Children After Them by Nicholas Mathieu. This is translated from the French, and it's set in the 1990s. And I'm not entirely sure much beyond a group of young adults probably coming of age. And the back of this book has been warped. That's annoying. Anyway, and the second book is Swimming in the Dark by Tomasz Jedrowski, translated from the Polish. This book is set in the 1980s, and I think a chunk of it takes place at a summer camp. And I'm really looking forward to getting to this. I was meaning to read it for last month in June for my Pride readathon or my queer reading, but I didn't quite get around to it. So hopefully I can make it up in the not too distant future. Number 5, exploratories. Which category of extra non-core classes did you take the most of in high school? That term, exploratories, always kind of throws me off. I mean, admittedly, it's probably state by state what exactly they call the extra classes. For me, they were called extracurriculars. And I would say I took art. I took 2 years of art, and one as a sophomore and then one as a junior. And then I managed to not have... I was like one of the last students in my senior year that I could basically go just half a day. So I basically had like 5 classes, because I took extra credit. Sorry about that. The roughly first period, and then I had like math class and something else. Oh, I think I had like Spanish. I think I had like Spanish, maybe a math class, and English. And then after English, I went home. So I mean, I basically did not. Yeah. Of course, my senior year, I largely checked out from the school, but as like an active participant. But anyway, but as for an exploratories, I took or extracurriculars, I took 2 years of art, and really enjoyed it. And I think had I wanted to, and if the teacher had been the same, I think I might have seen about taking like a 3rd year of art, but she left or retired, and a new teacher started, and so I kind of, yeah. I also took like, I don't remember if it was a year of cooking or just a half semester. Because I know I took, yeah, I don't remember. And well, let's go ahead and pass it on. It was like not a whole lot of cooking. I wish I could have taken more cooking, but yeah, I took more art. Number 6, the Common Core. The much dreaded and hated Common Core. Share a good pairing of a fiction with a nonfiction book. Now, there's certainly, I think, a much better, or several better books that I could have used to, one that I definitely have in my collection, but that would necessitate a rant, for which I'm going to be saving it for weekly reads. So, no spoiling of rant. So, I'm going to go with relating setting. So, I'm going to go with The Blue Angel, or Blue Angel by Francine Prose for the fiction, and Crafting Novels and Short Stories by the editors of Writer's Digest. So, Blue Angel takes place at a university, a creative writing. The main protagonist is a creative writing professor, and the novel opens with him in class teaching I think it's a intro, although there aren't that many students in there, so it might be a more advanced. Sorry, there's something bugging my nose. Creative writing class, and it goes from there. So I thought, obviously, when I paired Blue Angel with Wonder Book for the summer school readathon, I decided to go with another creative writing book for this one. This one geared more towards probably a general fiction, literary fiction. Although I haven't actually read this one yet, I really need to. No, definitely another book on my TBR at some point. Let me reach over because there's the last one. Number 7, research. What was the last topic that inspired you to seek out books so that you could read up on them? Or read up on it? For this one, I'm going to go with A Queer History of the United States by Michael Bronski. I haven't really dived into like all of the books I want from this book that I've sort of read up on. I know I definitely want a big history of the Stonewall riots, the lead up to sort of the Mattachine Society and the pre-Stonewall gay rights movement, Stonewall, the gay rights movement in the 70s, the Purity movement, just so much that I want to learn from this book. Hopefully there's a lot reference in here, and hopefully I can find newer books written since then. But definitely something I'm going to keep an eye out on. Number 8. What subject area would you teach if you were a teacher? English. I would teach English at the collegiate level. Definitely like the literature side. I got my bachelor's in English Lit and had everything gone according to plan. I would have gotten my master's and then eventually a PhD, and hopefully at some point be a tenure track professor somewhere. I love literature. I love talking about literature. That's why I'm on BookTube, although maybe not necessarily the literature that English professors should be talking about, although that is definitely changing. And I think as I've kind of gotten the last few months on a nostalgia kick of what could have been. And I'm thinking I probably would have had like my area of focus of expertise would have been 20th and 21st century American fiction with maybe like a deeper focus on gay literature or queer literature and popular fiction, namely science fiction and fantasy. Because there's, I mean, a lot to mine. It's not just like crap. I mean, there's interpretive value. I mean, there's value, period. Um, and I spent one summer, I think before senior year in college, I did a paper just for fun on Dune. And I had a blast. And I've kind of been regretting that lately, that I never stuck it out, that I never really got to do the scholarship side, which I would have enjoyed, I think, far more than the teaching side. I think the few times I've taught as a, because I was a teaching aide for a little bit my junior year, and the teacher made the mistake of letting me do some teaching. I can be a bit pedantic, so I think it probably would have been more on the scholarship side rather than the conferences, writing essays, and just publishing and research and books rather than the teaching. But yeah, but definitely it would have been English lit. Number 9, share a photo from your school days. I have destroyed every photo I have ever taken. Sorry. Number 10, tag some fellow lifelong learners. I tag everybody. So if you've done the tag, or I mean, if you haven't done the tag and would like to, please consider yourselves tagged. And now, before I wrap this up, I so very rarely get to do these pyramids. So yay, pyramid. Okay. Okay, so you can go back. So I probably ought to keep these. You can go over there. So the next 2 videos today. So the next one is going to be a quick tour of my art space, which I'm going to try something. So if it works, it'll come out in about 2 hours. If it doesn't, it'll probably come out in about 4, 5-ish. Obviously immediately before my weekly reads. So if it's like a few hours, next video, and then a few hours, and then weekly reads, it'll be it worked. And if it's like this video, lots of hours, and then the art room tour and my weekly reads, then things didn't quite work out. And yeah, so anyway, so that's it for now. I will wrap up and try to figure out what the heck's bugging my nose. Anyway, thank you, BookTube, and stay safe.